What's up, Warriors fans, and welcome back to Warriors Latest. As always, I am your host, Max Arizin. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell if you enjoyed the show today, as I do post new Warriors videos daily, and it does help the show and myself as the season continues to go and the show continues to grow. Now, last night, this was the epitome of frustration with the Dubs so far this season. We're 6 games in. All right, we've had one bad loss against the Trailblazers, and we could have knocked that off to a let's call it a moral victory for the Blazers, especially after what happened the day prior with Chauncey Billups getting arrested, indicted, and then put on leave for his rigged poker games that he was a part of, that he was really the main attraction. So I understand that. But last night should not have happened, because losing to the Bucks, and not just losing to the Bucks, losing to the Bucks with Giannis in street clothes is unacceptable. Games like these should not happen, especially if the Warriors are going to win an NBA championship. They have to be in control from start to finish. And it just shows that the team was exposed. Like, yes, they did have great rebounding. They did have a lot of stretches where they did well and came back and then got over the top. But they allowed a 23-year-old Ryan Rollins to drop 32 points on them for what? Going 13 for 21 from the field, shooting 5 for 7 from 3. And it shouldn't happen. Ryan Rollins. Who is this kid? This guy is just a guy you plugged in, and he just filled in for Giannis like Giannis wasn't even needed. And I'm looking at his stats now, and I'm just thinking, it's like, all right, he's had a solid start. He had a good game against the Knicks, but he's averaging 18 and 5. That's solid. But as a 6'3" guard, I'm not confident. I mean, how long has he been in the league? Let's see. All right. Wait, oh, you gotta be kidding me. This guy is killing it, and he's a former Warrior. I completely forgot about that. He was basically a nobody with the Warrior. Yeah, he averaged 1.9, basically 2 points per game with the Warriors, then was with Washington, then got onto Milwaukee, and really started killing it this season. Now, I wonder if this has to do with Giannis being out, but this is unacceptable. A former Warrior spanking the Warriors is just unacceptable. On top of that, I noticed that one of the things that the Warriors weren't able to really work with was their lack of size. Bobby Portis and Miles Turner, I felt, were really having a field day with the Warriors' lack of post presence. And we can't continue to have just Quentin Post and Al Horford out there in a rotation and occasionally throwing in Trace Jackson Davis. That is not going to work long term. On the bright side, though, because of this, when I was watching the game, I did like what I saw from Will Richard. And I have to say, I like continuing to eat crow when Will Richard succeeds, because I wasn't 100% sold on him. But that idea where he constantly worked up, started at a lower level D1 school, then got transferred to Florida, and then helped them win the title last year, and then getting drafted by the Warriors in the late second round. All right, I like what he's doing, and I like how he is going to continue to develop his game as well as sort of push guys out. Like, I'm looking at this roster, and there are a lot of guys that are going to get pushed out because of Will Richard and because of the younger guys like Potts. And the two biggest ones I'm seeing are Moses Moody and Buddy Hield. Now, looking at last night, Buddy Hield, he was 2 for 4 from 3, which is pretty much all he's good for right now. He's just a three-point specialist. But do you really need a three-point specialist when you have Steph Curry on the team and then you have Seth coming back later next month? Not really, especially under the contract that Buddy Hield is under. On top of that, I'm looking at Moses Moody. Now, Moody, good two-way player. I like him. But that role is going to be taken by the likes of Will Richard and Pods as well. So he's just sort of pushing him out and making him a more tradable asset. Now remember, both Hield and Moody can be traded immediately, unlike some other players that were just signed that have to wait until January 15th. The biggest guy that could be traded January 15th is going to be Kuminga, but looking at his numbers, he had 24 last night, 8 rebounds to go along with 4 assists, 7 for 11 from the field, with 2 for 4 from 3. All right, we're all eating crow with Kuminga. We should call him Kuminga the Crow because he's making us all eat it. But yeah, he's not. I don't see him getting traded, but we need to find a way to bring in a big. Maybe it is James Wiseman, maybe it isn't. We need to find a big guy who can just like get those rebounds, both offense and defense, and just be able to get physical with the likes of guys like Bobby Portis and Miles Turner. Because it wasn't fun to watch them take full advantage of the Warriors because of their lack of size. That being said, I do think it's time that the Warriors relook at one of their old targets during the offseason. That's Nikola Vucevic. Now, again, Vucevic, expiring contract. Bulls so far, they've been all right. They got off to a decent start. Let's look at their numbers real quick. They've gotten off to a solid start. Let me get that up. Where the Bulls, they've gotten off to a very solid start. I'm impressed. 4-0 to start the season, so I'm not sure if they're in the mood to trade, but I don't know if they could keep this up either. Now let's look at the stats. Vucevic, he's putting up the numbers again. He's an 18-10 guy. Oh my God. He's an 18-13 guy, excuse me. Those 10 were defensive rebounds. He's grabbing 3 offensive boards per game, dishing out 5 assists to go along with 2 turnovers per game, 2 fouls per game. And let's see, let's look at his 3-point numbers. And I'm looking at them, I'm like, whoa, all right, he's not doing great from 3-point percentage. So far, his first 2 games, 33%, 25%, and then 100% versus the Magic. So I'll take that. All right, let's 3-point. Oh, well, he's not shooting it like crazy from 3, but he is getting his numbers up there. I mean, 3 shots the first game against the Kings, 3 shots in the most recent game against the Kings, 4 shots against Atlanta, a single shot against Orlando, and then 6 shots against Detroit in that big win. So I do like where they're going with it. It's just, all right, let's see. Right now, he's at 50% from three-point range. So if you're hitting 50% from 3-point range, but you're not taking a lot of shots, that's at least giving me a little bit of confidence. It's like, all right, you can stretch the floor if you need to and draw the opposing post defender out to allow guys like Kuminga, Jimmy, and Draymond Green to attack the basket, get those easy buckets. Even Steph, I've noticed more recently, he's putting up his 3-point shots, but he's attacking the basket a lot more than he did last season, at least from what I saw. So bringing in a guy like Vucevic is definitely going to be a big plus, especially when you have guys like Moody and Buddy Hield, who are pretty much expendable come middle of the season when Seth Curry gets signed, with the continued evolution of Will Richard. Guys on those kinds of contracts aren't really beneficial to what the Warriors are trying to do. That being said, the Bulls' hot start is going to prevent them from trading any of their players. We have to wait and see how things play out for the Bulls before we say, hey, Buddy Hield, Moses Moody, and say a protected first-round pick for Vucevic. Well, granted, I don't think it's going to cost that much, but you never know. But his hot start has increased his value to the point where, all right, we got to see what we can get. But moving off of those guys, giving them to the Bulls where they're sort of in transition and giving them easy to trade lighter contracts to, say, playoff teams is going to be beneficial for both sides. So I do see that happening. It just may take some time to get done because of the Bulls' hot start. And the Warriors still need to find a way to get another big man on this roster in the meantime. So James Wiseman, it's time to come back where it all began, and let's see if you still got it and are still the guy that the Warriors drafted back in 2020. But aside from that, I did see that Pods' option got picked up. And to be honest, this was a no-brainer. Pods, yes, he's still a work in progress. He still has to keep his mouth shut in terms of, oh, I want to be the next guy up after Steph, Draymond, and Jimmy retire. Look, I love the confidence, but you got to walk the walk if you're going to talk the talk. And so far, it's been a mixed bag. But on a cheap rookie deal, he's worth keeping on. And I'm glad they did keep him on to see how he continues to evolve. He's still filling up the stat sheet in other ways besides scoring. So I do like that. I do like that he is a small rebounding guard, but I want to continue to see him up that assist numbers. Because if he doesn't up that assist numbers, he's just an undersized rebounder, a hustler, but an undersized rebounder that's not going to get you a bunch of points on a consistent basis. He's going to give you a solid number of rebounds, but I want those assist numbers up. Now, once he gets those assist numbers up, maybe he can be a potential heir apparent to Steph. But as of right now, he's just a guy that's going to come off the bench, a guy who's going to be in the starting lineup every once in a while and contribute and be that super role player that they need him to be. But the bottom line is the Warriors cannot lose against teams that are superstarless. They lost against the Trailblazers, no superstars there. They lost against the Giannis-less Bucks, no superstars there. Now they have their next game against the Pacers, who are without Tyrese Halliburton, another superstarless team. If they are going to continue this moment or continue to show that they are championship contenders, they need to beat this superstarless Pacers team. They cannot be taken advantage. And this is not the Pacers that went to the finals next year. They don't have Miles Turner anymore. And again, Tyrese Halliburton is out for the year. So this should be an easy blowout for the team tomorrow night in Indiana. But they have to make sure. They have to be on top of everything. This is a fully healthy Warriors team. We haven't seen the injury bug hit them so far. So they need to blow them out. They need to show it's like, okay, those two losses we have were flukes. Yes, the Warriors it was a back and forth versus Milwaukee, but they did end up losing by 10. But it was just a fluke versus Milwaukee. It was just a fluke versus Portland. And after this game, the Warriors need to be 5-2 and continue to build on that as they move forward. Because this next month, they got 2 back-to-back games versus the Spurs. And the Spurs are 5-0 to start the season for the first time in history. Wemby is here, and he's going to be a big problem. And I'm legitimately concerned because we're worrying about the Rockets, the Thunder. We need to be worried about the Spurs most of all because they're going to come in to Oklahoma City, beat them at home. They're going to come into Houston, beat them at home, and it's going to be scary to have to deal with Wemby because of the things that he can do. Now, that's all we have today for Warriors Latest. As always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell if you enjoyed the show today. And if you have any other ideas on who the Warriors need to trade for just to keep the momentum going, because I am concerned about this size issue, feel free to comment below as I love hearing your ideas. And as always, go Dubs.